Hey everybody, thanks so much for pulling up to my channel. My name is D. Maria Reacts. So here we go again. Now here goes Pocahontas. Them with these doggone protests.
I am so glad to be here with you today. My name is Elizabeth Warren, and I am here with you to fight for our Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The CFPB is the cop on the beat. That cop is the one who has worked day by day to get your money back when some slime ball decided they could cheat you and there wouldn't be anything you can do about it. Now the CFPB is the little agency that has fought for us, and we are here today to fight for the CFPB. Let's give a huge cheer for the CFPB.
These people behave as if they talk as if it's a new concept to go in and slash government waste. Watch this.
Demand and deserve an active government on their side. But they don't want a government that wastes money, a government that costs more and does less. They voted for change. They wanted a literal revolution in the way government operates, and now you and I must deliver. Yesterday, I announced the reorganization of the White House staff that will reduce our staff by 25% and cut costs by $10 million per year. Today, I have called you, the members of the Cabinet, together to take the next step, to begin the overhaul of government as a whole. The steps we're taking today will save the American taxpayers $9 billion. They won't be easy, but they will make a difference. We have an obligation and an opportunity to change the way government works and to show that government can do more with less.
The report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
Why is everybody making like it's problematic that Trump is doing it? And it bears to mention that when Clinton was president, he let go over 250,000 federal workers. So why are the Democrats not criticizing that, but they have all the worst things to say about President Trump doing it today? Get out of here with that nonsense. Watch this.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. Cutting waste, making government more efficient is something that leaders in both parties have worked on. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign to cut waste. Not just to cut spending, but to make government work better for the American people. There are things that we can do right now that will actually deliver better government, more efficiently, more consumer friendly, for less money. All right? There you go.
So when Trump does the same thing that President Clinton and President Obama did, Trump gets talked about like a DOG. He's doing the same thing. There are a lot of people who have been loyal to the Democratic Party, who ever since the presidential election all the way up through now that it's being exposed about all this waste, all these slush funds, where all this money is being sent, we don't really know yet who the final recipients are. I believe that's coming. And I'm really hoping that President Trump is going to start calling names. Okay? I hope that he is. Let me show you something else I came across this week that I thought was really interesting along the same lines.
The U.S. government now appears to have been paying the Walt Disney Company over the past many years millions and millions of dollars through the Department of Defense. It is something that perhaps Disney will need to defend, maybe the government as well. All right, out of that Park Place, the Walt Disney Company was provided USAID funds by the Biden administration to create Nat Geo content. We've already covered this. We're not going to go back into it deeply. I just want to remind folks who have not seen it before that yes, indeedly doodly, the Walt Disney Company, we know received millions of dollars from the Biden administration in 2021, and it was for a show that basically was unwatched. Millions of dollars were spent, and Team Sayari, if you have not heard of it, well, you're not alone. But it's a bigger story than, of course, Disney just receiving money. Grums, also known as Mark Kern, that's his official name. He is, in my opinion, he should be on the Mount Rushmore of game developers. He's largely responsible for the games that you love out of Blizzard from the glory days. He has this to say. He says, USAID has funneled $472 million through Internews Network. Director of Internews Network is the VP of comms at Reddit. Reddit is compromised. What is this talking about? It's talking about apparently a business known as Internews Network that the USAID was funneling vast sums of money, and then Internews Network was paying out that money to the legacy media companies. And so if you've ever wondered why was, what is causing 98% of journalists to be of one political viewpoint, it may have been because the U.S. government was paying to make that so.
Wow.
Now, we don't know completely yet. The details are still fuzzy, foggy, and we're waiting to get all of it. And it's not easy either because the legacy media, of course, is not going to cover this. It's up to independent journalists and people like Grums to put this out there. We're watching it. We're paying attention. USAID turns out to have been essentially a giant slush fund taking your tax dollars, and we're not sure exactly what the percentages of things that it did that were good versus bad. Surely with the kind of money we're talking about, some of this had to actually be going to poor people who were in need of help. Maybe some of this money did finally land in Haiti to help the Haitians. We hate the idea, though, that perhaps large percentages never made it to the people who needed assistance, but instead went to the rich people and to the journalists, the drive-bys to line their pockets and help them to continue putting out their propaganda. Now, we're interested, of course, in entertainment and entertainment news coverage here. I want to show you how ABC News is covering the USAID situation, and then I'm going to show you something very concerning to us that we have discovered and we are currently investigating. It is in regards to the Walt Disney Company, which, by the way, owns ABC and ABC News. We'll get to it in just a moment. This is an article out of ABC News. It's by Mary Alice Parks. It says, nonprofits, NGOs scramble to provide global aid amid USAID uncertainty. Organizations describe being locked out of systems and unable to access funds. Let's take a look at how ABC covered the situation of Elon Musk and his Doge mobile, his Doge team, going in and bulldozing the fraud and abuse at USAID. Here's how ABC, owned by Disney, is covering that situation.
Millions of people around the world rely on life-saving aid from USAID. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the State Department can offer waivers for some of the most critical aid efforts to continue. But there are questions about who would be left at the agency to process those waivers. We checked in with NGOs abroad about how they've already been impacted.
I'm Christine Speckling. I'm a Deputy Executive Director at UNAIDS, the joint program within the United Nations responding to HIV and AIDS. The United States government provides about 70% of all funding for HIV and AIDS globally. And
now that does beg the question, folks. Why is the U.S. providing 90%?
Why?
This is a global issue. Like, why is the U.S. the one that's providing 90%? That's a political question. We'll leave it to you to decide. But just suffice to say, something seems skewed there. But I think we can fairly say that ABC, in their coverage of that, they spent very little time talking about the motivations behind why USAID is being looked at again, right? There was no talk about the fraud, abuse, waste, et cetera. Everything was about the humanitarian issues. Now, the reason that we did the ABC thing, folks, is because ABC News, owned by Disney, of course, we've just covered with the Nat Geo situation that Disney was receiving USAID money. There's something bigger that may be there that we want to look at. Folks, take a look at this. It is out of USAID. Well, excuse me, it's not. It's out of usaspending.gov. I'm going to show you something new. This is brand new investigation work that we're doing. If we go through the recipients of federal monies, and we were told we might be interested in this. There's a company called Buena Vista Non-Theatrical Incorporated. Now, I'm going to tell you, we don't know why they're receiving all this money.
2 more down, Buena Vista Contracting, Inc.
It's going to be a lot more than 2.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
But I can tell you that Buena Vista Non-Theatrical Incorporated, as best as our investigation so far is pointing us, appears to be a company that may have been split off from the Buena Vista Theatrical Distribution. I forget the exact name of the company. Started in 1980 that handled Disney's VHS and movie secondary distribution, so home distribution. This seems to be a spinoff of that somehow. And we're not exactly sure why Buena Vista Non-Theatrical is getting so much money from the U.S. government. But let's just scroll through for a minute and just take a look at this with us as we speculate, because again, we're at the beginning of the investigation. Buena Vista Non-Theatrical, $811 million. Buena Vista Non-Theatrical, $635 million. Buena Vista Non-Theatrical, $427 million. Buena Vista Non-Theatrical, 410. Buena Vista Non-Theatrical, 374. Buena Vista Non-Theatrical, 353, 325, 3.
No amount of that foolery is going to change my mind. I am glad this is happening. I'm glad these agencies are under investigation, that their books are being looked at, and I am all for anything wasteful being slashed. I am all for anybody who's done anything nefarious and janky being exposed for their behavior. I'm all for it. So, that's all I have for you today. I thank you all for hanging out with me, and before you leave, do not forget to please hit that like button, leave your comments down below, subscribe, and press that bell notification so that you can be notified each time I drop another video. I will see you all next time. Bye.